I found out my wife was cheating on me the same night I was planning to surprise her with our anniversary dinner. The worst part? She blamed me for it. Welcome to Subtle Deception Stories, where real confessions of betrayal and heartbreak unfold, where the truth behind closed doors can be darker than fiction. Subscribe if you're ready to hear stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew about love. I never imagined I'd be the guy typing this out at 2 in the morning, sitting alone in my car, parked 3 blocks from the house I used to call home. That house had been our dream, where we exchanged vows under fairy lights in the backyard, where we argued over paint colors, where we laughed about how bad we were at assembling IKEA furniture. And last night, it became the place where I walked in and saw her with him. I wasn't supposed to be home early. She wasn't supposed to know I'd taken the day off to plan something special. But fate, or whatever cruel joke the universe was playing, wanted me to know the truth. I stood in the hallway, with a bouquet of roses in one hand and the stupidest grin on my face, hearing her laugh from our bedroom, a laugh I hadn't heard in months. It wasn't for me. It was for him. My hands went numb. The roses slipped from my fingers and hit the floor with a soft thud that sounded deafening in the silence. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring at the half-open door, waiting for the nightmare to end, praying I'd wake up. But I didn't. When I finally pushed the door open, the room shattered. They froze, she froze, and the look on her face wasn't guilt or fear. It was anger. Anger at me, like I was the one who'd done something wrong. I can still hear her words, burned into my memory. You shouldn't have come home early. You make me feel trapped. You're not romantic anymore. That was the moment I realized I'd lost her long before I even knew it.
I don't remember how long I stood there, frozen in the doorway, with my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear her voice anymore. Everything felt distant. The lamp casting a yellow glow on the floor, the crumpled sheets that still smelled like our laundry detergent, the man scrambling to grab his clothes. But what cut through the fog wasn't the shock of catching her in bed with someone else. It was what she said next. "You don't make me feel loved anymore." Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "This is a mistake." Not even an attempt to explain. She looked at me with this cold indifference, like she'd been waiting for me to walk in and give her an excuse to unload months of resentment. I wanted to scream, to ask her how she could throw away everything we built, the years of sacrifice, the nights I worked late so she could chase her dreams, the mornings I made her coffee just the way she liked it. But my voice wouldn't come. All I could manage was one word: why? Her answer gutted me. "Because you stopped being romantic. Because you're never home. Because I don't feel alive with you anymore." The man slipped past me, muttering something that sounded like an apology, though I couldn't even process it. The door slammed behind him, leaving us alone in the wreckage of our marriage. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just crossed her arms and waited for me to leave, like I was the intruder. I walked out that night with nothing but my car keys and the wedding ring still clinging to my finger. I drove aimlessly, ending up at a 24-hour gas station miles away, sitting in my car until sunrise, staring at the steering wheel like it held answers. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A text from her. Not an apology, not a question about where I was, just this: "Don't make this a big deal. Don't tell the neighbors. Don't embarrass our families. We can talk when you calm down." Calm down? I've been calm for months, ignoring every late night, every deleted text, every excuse about work dinners I knew didn't exist. I'd swallowed my doubts and trusted her, even when my gut screamed otherwise. And now, standing in the ruins of what I thought was love, she wanted me to calm down. I didn't go home, not right away. I slept in my car for 3 days, surviving on fast food and bitter gas station coffee. I replayed every moment of our relationship, From the day we met in that Denver coffee shop to the night I proposed under a flickering streetlight, somewhere along the line we'd lost each other. Maybe we'd been lost for a long time. When I finally drove back to the house, her decision was waiting for me on the front porch, my suitcase, stuffed haphazardly with my clothes. No note, no explanation, just a silent message. You're out. I stood there in the cold October wind, staring at the home I'd poured my soul into, and realized I wasn't welcome there anymore. And maybe I never had been.
The suitcase sat on the porch like a tombstone for everything I thought we had. My hands shook as I picked it up, not from anger this time, but from something colder, the realization that she'd already erased me from her life before I even walked away. No note, no apology, just a clean cut. I knocked. Silence. I knocked harder. A few seconds later, the door creaked open, and there she was, hair pulled back, wearing one of my old t-shirts like nothing had happened, eyes flat and unrecognizable. "This is really how you want to end it?" I asked, my voice hoarse. "You're overreacting," she said, crossing her arms. "I was looking for something you stopped giving me." Every word out of her mouth was gasoline on the fire. She talked about romance like it was a chore I'd failed at, about how working late to pay the mortgage somehow made me less of a man. I wanted to defend myself, screamed that I'd been breaking my back for us, but I didn't, because deep down I knew none of it mattered. She had already decided who the villain in the story was, and it wasn't her. I left without saying another word, checked into a cheap motel on the outskirts of town, the kind of place where the wallpaper peels and the air smells like stale cigarettes. I stared at the ceiling all night, piecing together every red flag I'd ignored. The late meetings, the secretive phone calls, the new dresses she swore were just to feel confident again. Part of me wanted to forgive her, or at least pretend it was a one-time mistake. But another part, the part that couldn't shake the look in her eyes when I caught her, knew this was just the surface of something darker. 2 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Don't believe what she tells you. Meet me at the coffee shop on 5th Street, 7 p.m. I'll show you the truth." No name, no explanation, just that. I should have ignored it. Could have blocked the number, stayed in my motel room, drowned myself in bad coffee and worse thoughts, but curiosity, or desperation, drove me there. The guy waiting in the back corner was in his 30s, shirt wrinkled like he'd been living out of his car. He looked up when I walked in and said, "You're Melissa's husband, right?" I nodded. He slid a brown envelope across the table. "You should see this." Inside were photos. Melissa with a man I didn't recognize, not the one I caught her with, not anyone I'd ever seen. Different locations, different nights. Not just one affair, multiple. My stomach turned. My hands trembled as I flipped through each picture, each one another nail in the coffin of the life I thought I knew. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The man leaned forward, eyes dark. "Someone you'd never expect." The man across from me hesitated, like he was about to drop a bomb he wasn't sure I could handle. His fingers drummed against the table, his jaw tight. Finally, he said it. "The guy in those photos, it's your boss." For a second, I couldn't process the words. My boss? The man I'd worked under for 3 years? The same man who toasted at my wedding, clapped me on the back, called me family? I looked at the photos again, my stomach twisting. Melissa on the office couch, Melissa in his car, Melissa laughing in a way she hadn't laughed with me in months. My memory reeled. All those late nights I spent at work, thinking I was doing it for us. All those times he asked me how my marriage was holding up, smirking like he knew something I didn't. "She's not just cheating," the stranger said quietly. "She's using him, same way she used me." I blinked. "Used you?" He nodded, eyes bitter. 2 years ago. Same pattern. She wanted connections, money, power. When I couldn't give her more, she moved on. Now it's your boss. And when he's no longer useful, she'll find someone else. My chest felt like it was caving in. Everything clicked.
The sudden lifestyle changes, the coldness, the excuses about needing more excitement. It wasn't about love. It wasn't even about me. It was about leverage. I asked him why he was telling me this. He shrugged, his voice low. Because I don't want her to ruin anyone else, and because I know what's coming for you if you stay. Driving back to the motel, my mind wouldn't stop spinning, not just from the betrayal, but from what it meant. Every sacrifice I made, every sleepless night, every time I convinced myself we were still worth saving, it was all built on lies. By the next morning, I knew what I had to do. I went back to the house, not to beg, not to fight, but to face her one last time. When I walked through the door, Melissa was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. She didn't look shocked to see me. She didn't even flinch. "So you know," she said flatly. I dropped the envelope on the table, photos spilled out like evidence in a trial neither of us asked for. She glanced at them and smirked, actually smirked, before looking back at me. "You finally understand. You were never enough for me, and I don't regret it." Something inside me broke then, not in anger, but in clarity. In that moment, I realized the woman I fell in love with was gone. Maybe had been gone for a long time. What sat in front of me was a stranger wearing her face.
I stared at her, really stared, and for the first time in months, I saw her clearly. Not the woman I married, not the girl who laughed with me under fairy lights in our backyard. Just a stranger who had been living in my house wearing the mask of someone I used to love. "Why him?" I asked quietly. "Why my boss?" Melissa shrugged, like the question bored her. "Because he could give me what you couldn't. I got tired of waiting for you to become someone you'll never be." There it was. The truth, raw and ugly. Not whispered, not hidden. Spoken without shame. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked out. For the first time since that night, the weight on my chest lifted. Pain was still there, sure, but so was clarity. I couldn't save her. I couldn't save us. And for the first time, I didn't want to. I left the keys on the counter and drove. No destination, no plan. Just away. Away from the lies, the fights, the hollow promises. Away from the version of myself that thought love meant holding on no matter what. Months later, I heard about her again, through a mutual friend. She'd left my boss too. Something about money, scandal, whispers I didn't care enough to follow. For a brief moment, I wondered if she ever thought about me, about what we had. But the thought passed as quickly as it came, because she wasn't my problem anymore. This is the part where most people expect some kind of redemption, that I found someone new, that I rebuilt overnight. The truth is, healing doesn't work like that. Some days were better. Some nights I still woke up at 3 a.m. thinking I heard her laugh. But little by little, the noise faded. And when it finally went quiet, I realized something. Walking away wasn't the end. It was the beginning. If you're listening to this and you see yourself in my story, remember you deserve love that doesn't make you beg, doesn't make you question your worth. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leave.